This video is brought to you by the 3-Minute Board Game patrons. Keep us independent by supporting us on Patreon. Kia ora koutou and welcome to Sky Team in about 3 minutes. Review copy used. It has no solo mode. It's a game for 2 players, playing time is short, and it's a pretty simple game. You are a pair of pilots trying to land a plane, a task that requires coordination and communication. In this game, however, you must do that task without either of those things. The game ends in a victory if you reach your destination at ground level with the plane straight and not going too fast. Dice. Each player has their own set of 6-sided dice. Secret orders. Each player rolls their dice behind their own screen and cannot communicate what they rolled. Action selection. Each round you will take 4 actions by placing dice on the board. Player turn. For your first game, use only the rules in this rulebook. The second book contains a whole bunch of additional content to be used later. Just ignore it for now. Play with the default setup that looks like this. Before your turn, you may discuss your plans, but cannot reference specific numbers. If there is a reroll marker on the current elevation, claim it. Each player then rolls their dice behind their screen, and from this moment until the end of the round, you may not talk. Look at the elevation track. The player whose dice matches the border here starts the turn by placing a die on an action spot. There are 2 mandatory placements, the first of which is keeping the plane level. This resolves as soon as both players have placed a die. Move the axis based on the difference between the 2 values. If you move past the red X, you crash and die. The second mandatory spot is the engines, and this also resolves once the second die is placed. If their combined value is below the blue marker here, the plane will not move this turn. If it is between the blue and orange markers, it will move once and pass the orange marker twice. Moving the plane moves this tracker down 1 step for each movement. If you move into a space that would push a plane off the tracker, you crash and die. We are now onto the optional, but ultimately also mandatory actions. The first of which is to clear traffic. Place a die here and remove a plane that many steps down the destination tracker. The pilot can deploy the landing gear by placing a die matching the value shown. Then move the button to green to show this has been done, and advance the blue marker on the speed dial. The co-pilot does the same with the flaps, advancing the orange marker. All of these buttons must be lit before you land, or you crash and die. The captain also activates the brakes, and this must be done in sequence. If your speed exceeds the brake value on your last turn, you crash and die. Finally, you can use any die to gain a coffee. Coffee can be spent 1 for 1 to change a die's value before placing it. And reroll markers can be spent at any time and allow both players to re-roll their dice behind their screens. Once all 8 dice are placed, advance the elevation tracker 1 step, reclaim your dice, and it is now the next turn. Why would you like this game? Sky Team is a game that will appeal to people who buy into its central conceit of playing an aircrew who cannot communicate. If you manufacture enough tension on the result of your dice rolls, it could be an exciting game. There are a bunch of extra modes and airports to try if you enjoy the challenge of the game. I think this is something would best suit couples who can really get into the silent die placement and ham up the lack of communication. But the best thing about this game is how it looks. It's very pleasant. However, I did not find this game had meaningful decisions. Half your actions are mandatory each turn, and the rest are usually very obvious. At no point in the game did anything unexpected happen. Sitting in silence, placing numbers in a predictable pattern is slightly more interesting than watching paint dry, and I personally felt no tension at all. In fact, Sky Team seems so on rails, it barely counts as a game to me. For a great 2-player puzzle game, try Assembly. And for a competitive 2-player dice game, try Noctiluca. Sky Team, just put on the autopilot.
Shove that control into a nosedive, Hulk Hogan.
And if you enjoyed this video, hit the notification button, like, share, and subscribe to the channel.